Hi guys, thanks so much for tuning in to this video. I am Jay Theo. If you are new here, welcome. If you are not new, welcome back. I know I've been a little MIA, but I am back and ready to dive right back into this video. Today we're going to be talking about something a little heavy, but it's something I feel like is not nearly talked about enough. When I was doing some research for a TikTok video a few months back, I came across this article that has some really disturbing statistics about men, their physical and mental health. Basically, the article outlined that 1 in 5 men, 1 in 5, will not reach the age of 50 that live in the Americas. This article is detailing a study done by the Pan American Health Organization, which is a subset of the World Health Organization that focuses on the health and well-being of residents in North and South America. The article was called Masculinity and Health in the Regions of the Americas, and it outlines some huge disparities that are happening when it comes to men and our well-being. The most alarming aspect of the study was definitely the fact that 1 in 5 men will not reach the age of 50, but another huge highlight that it called out that men on average that live in the Americas will live 6 years less than women. The report goes on to highlight that the societal expectations of men to be providers, sexually dominant, to engage in risky behaviors, to not show emotions and not seek help, behaviors commonly referred to as toxic masculinity, are contributing to the higher rates of suicide, homicide, addiction, road traffic accidents, and non-communicable diseases among men. For many of the men that do die by the age of 50, the leading cause of death are heart disease, interpersonal violence, road traffic accidents, and all of these are directly related to socially constructed macho behavior. It still just really shocks me that this is such a reality for American men. I'm still shocked, y'all. 1 in 5. 1 in 5. The report also highlights the differences in male and female mortality, which is the chances of death begin to emerge as early as 10 years old. 10 years old! And then after that, it rapidly increases from the age of 15 on when violent causes of death such as homicide, suicide, and accidents predominate. As a result, the mortality rate of young men is 4 to 7 times higher than that of young women. 4 to 7 times higher? The report further explains that the gender roles and societal norms placed on men reinforce a lack of self-care and neglect on their physical and mental health. So toxic masculinity looms this dark cloud and creates these fatal consequences for the well-being of men. A reason I really want to bring this information to light is this just seems like lately there's been a huge epidemic of men, particularly in the media, black men, that have been dying at really young ages, whether it be by suicide, chronic illnesses, murder, violence, Takeoff, Pop Smoke, PNB Rock, or most recently DJ Twitch, the DJ on the Ellen DeGeneres show, Regina King's son committed suicide, Ian Alexander Jr., and then also death by chronic illness, Virgil Abloh and Chadwick Boseman. And definitely it's a punch to the gut to continue to see so many men that look like me continuously dying at very young ages. So I definitely wanted to bring this to light so that we can have a conversation on how we can stop this from being such a common thread for young men. And also from a personal standpoint, I've lost many family members to chronic illnesses, murder, accidents, and I have family and friends that have lost family members to suicide and homicide as well. Speaking of suicide, rates of suicide have sharply increased since the pandemic, and a recent study done by the journal JAMA has found that black men have the highest increase in suicide attempts than any other demographic. That's an 80% increase. 80%! Now, suicide for all demographics concerns me, but as someone who is a black man, a queer man, and someone who has had his own battle with depression, anxiety, and suicide in the past, this really hits very, very close to home. Just to throw out some statistics about suicide when it comes to men, in 2020, the suicide rate for men was 4 times higher than that of women. It was highest among non-Hispanic Native American men, Alaska Native men, followed closely by non-Hispanic white men. Research also suggests that even though women attempt suicide more often, men choose more lethal means of suicide. The World Health Organization reports that suicide represents half of all violent male deaths across the world. And even if men reach the age of 50, men over 75 are at the greatest risk of suicide than any other age demographic. And there's a whopping 6 million men that are affected by depression every single year in the United States. Men are also 2 to 3 more times likely to suffer from drug addiction than women and are 200 200% more likely to die by alcohol-related deaths than women. This is why I will always advocate for therapy. I've been in therapy since I was 19 years old, and it was life-changing, especially when I was going through my episodes of depression, anxiety, and even moments where I did not want to be on this planet. So I definitely think it's something that's extremely valuable, but unfortunately, everybody does not have universal access to healthcare. So I think the main goal of what we should be trying to do is trying to create safe spaces and safe environments for men to not feel like they always have to lean into this macho behavior, not showing emotion, not expressing things. It's not gonna save us. And I think we need to do what we can to fight these statistics that are really endangering men. And at the end of this video, I'm gonna talk a little bit more in detail the things I think we can do. But now I wanna segue and talk about another aspect of how this is really affecting the mortality rate for men. So now I really wanna dive into how we as men do not prioritize our physical health. As someone who has lost both his grandfathers, my father, my uncle, to chronic illnesses, I definitely think that this is something that we need to shine more light on. And I know a lot of friends that also have lost a lot of family members and loved ones to chronic illnesses as well. Although at younger ages, certain diseases are pretty neck and neck when it comes to men and women, as men start to age, chronic illnesses disproportionately affect men. And it's because men are less likely to engage in self-care and seek medical attention early, and this leads to a dramatic effect to the population. More boys are initially born in the world compared to girls. For every 100 girls born, 105 boys are born. By the age 30 and 40, this starts to invert like crazy. And by the age of 80, there are only 100 men for every 190 women. A survey done by the Cleveland Clinic in 2019 found some interesting information for men when it comes to seeking medical help. 72% of respondents said they'd rather be doing household chores or anything else than be going to the doctor. 65% said they avoid going to the doctor as long as possible. 20% admitted that they weren't honest when they do go to the doctor. 37% said they withheld information that was necessary for their treatment when they did see a doctor. The conductors of the survey also interviewed medical professionals and doctors and wanted them to share their experience of dealing with male patients. A firefighter paramedic shared that he recently had an issue with a man who was literally having a heart attack and did not want to go to the hospital. He had to call the emergency room and beg his family to convince him that he had to go to the hospital. He was having a heart attack. And they said most of their male patients always leads to the fact that even when they're having a physical issue or a very extreme issue happening to them, that they still feel like that they do not need to see a doctor. They call it the superhero syndrome, where a man just feel like he doesn't need help, he never needs anything, but this leads to their early death, and this leads to lack of getting medical care that they urgently need. And due to waiting to ask for help, sometimes the diagnosis is too far along, where the treatment is way more extreme, where there may be like surgery, chemo, limb amputations, or it may be so far along that they just may have to end up having an untimely death because they waited so long to ask for help. The doctors even said that men don't even ask for things that can help their personal sex life. A lot of men won't even ask for erectile dysfunction medicine when they know that they are having issues with erectile dysfunction. Men are just so afraid to ask for help, and they withhold information that's directly inhibiting their quality of life. That's wild. So with all these aspects that lead to the untimely death of men, what can we do to fix this, and what can we do to solve the problems that help men live longer, enriching, amazing lives? First, we need to know, when is it time for men to ask for help, either for yourself or for men in your life? When is it time? So if you notice changes in mood, differences in work performance, weight changes, sadness, hopelessness, anything like that, dread, and physical symptoms such as headaches or stomach aches. We also can start conversations in safe spaces where men are. Barbershops, sporting events, guys' nights out, things like that. Starting conversations to talk about your health, talk about steps you took to better your health, talk about steps that you take to go to the doctor, talk about things that you learn in therapy if you've taken that route, or just start having conversations to express emotions and be more open and be more vulnerable around other men. Like I said, share your experiences of your journey with mental health. Share your experience of your journey with physical health. Share wins that you've noticed when you have opened up to a spouse, a girlfriend, a boyfriend, family members, and how that has benefited you and how that allowed them to be more of an emotional support for you. Also, education and awareness. I think us reading and learning more about the toxicities of toxic masculinity, the issues that it causes for us, can help us be more enlightened on how we can be masculine, how we can lean into our masculinity, but in the right ways, being courageous courageous, being protectors, being providers, but in ways that don't deplete our mental and physical health. And if you are a parent, an aunt, or uncle, I think one thing we can really do is start having these conversations with young boys when boys are young, talking about the importance of their mental health, their physical health, opening the door to have conversations, and letting them be vulnerable, letting them cry, letting them show emotion, not telling them to focus on the idea of sex, the idea of being dominant, the idea of being aggressive, focusing more on the idea of being courageous, on being strong, and using their masculinity in a positive way. There are positive aspects of masculinity. So overall, those are my thoughts to really do what we can to really better the physical and mental health of men and to stop these disturbing statistics not living past the age of 50. That's just ridiculous. We can do better as a community. We can create safe spaces for men in our world. Men, women, everybody on this planet deserves to live fulfilling, enriching, amazing lives, and we can take steps in our own environments, in our own communities to do what we can to make sure men stay on this planet longer. As always, do your best to stay positive, stay safe, and I will see you guys on the next video.